This next question is one that we've actually received from several people, or versions of it from several people. I'll read this one. Sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Neil. Greetings from India. I've been a long-time listener, and I am writing to your show for the first time. I know you have spoken about Dave Meltzer's 5, 6, and 7-star ratings in the past, but today on Twitter, he countered some criticisms of his rating system by claiming that he uses an infinite scale. By that logic, every match that he has ever rated is crap because, well, mathematics and common sense. What do you think of this latest claim by Dave? And one of the other people here has sent me some tweets. I could try to figure this out, but what are your thoughts on the idea that it's not a 5-star scale or a 7-star scale, an infinite scale?
Oh, God damn it. So, a match that got 4 stars like Flair and Steamboat. Now, suddenly, he gives a match 7 stars because it was almost twice as good as Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat.
They got 5 stars for the record.
Okay, well, they got 5. Well, there you go. Well, some of them got 4. Not every single match they had got 5. But the point is, we've said this. It's fucking bogus anyway. It's an opinion. It's based on the movie critic system. There shouldn't even be 5 stars. Me and Weasel Dooley were fucking around with it to begin with. It said 5 stars because it was a fucking rib to begin with. And if they, you can't just make up new numbers. Even if you're going to do something that is meaningless to begin with, Gone with the Wind is a 4-star movie. Citizen Kane's a 4-star movie. And any movie there's never been a movie that got more than 4 stars because that's the scale they agreed on using at the start of this whole thing in the movie business. We're going to rate these movies and we're going to give them stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, or dud in the case of Plan 9 from Outer Space or whatever the fuck.
Well, actually, in Dave's defense, or at least explaining his logic, I see it here. Someone tweeted at him, it's a 5-star scale, so it should be 0, but it has quite a few over 5 for some reason. It's dumb. And Dave replied, the scale goes to infinity. It's like the Richter scale. Explain to seismologist that no earthquake can be above 5.0 because you think it's dumb.
What? That's no...
And then someone replied, but
no, because earthquakes aren't a thing that human beings made up to quantify something. The human beings made up a scale to quantify the earthquakes, and if the earthquake gets stronger, naturally, it would go up.
So then someone here replied, but the Richter scale wasn't set to a maximum of 5 to begin with. A star system generally is. Using half stars, you can get many ratings. Why would you need more? And Dave replied, in theory, it was set to a maximum of 4 until matches got better, then 5, then 6, then 7, but it was all theoretical. There was never an actual maximum. Before I ever did it, there had been a 6.5-star rating for a match. That was in 1981 or 1982. I believe it's 1981 for the record.
It was 81. Because we gave it that too, me and Weasel. Because we were doing it to amuse ourselves. And his 25 pen pals. You blithering simpletons. Here's the point. Matches didn't get better. A match was suddenly better than anything that we had seen. So since it didn't mean anything and we hadn't signed any contracts, we said, well, that's 5 stars. Because that's better than 4. But for the most part, even... we didn't just go around and say, okay, the matches in 1983 are so much better than they were in 1981. We're going to give this match 4 stars, even though 2 years ago we would have only given it fucking 2.5. What the fuck? And as far as matches getting better, no, actually, the matches have got worse, more redundant, less believable. Pretty much wrung the passion and emotion wrung out of them in every way. But no, matches didn't get better. Even In the 80s, matches overall didn't get better. Every once in a while, somebody just tore the fucking house down. And that still doesn't change. Every once in a while, you see Walter and Ilya Dragon Master, whatever his name is, and you go, holy fuck. That's the best thing I've seen in a long time, and that stands out. And otherwise, it's all the same shit that it was, only worse. So, just this ridiculous thing. Somebody told me that, and I know Dave's lost his mind, and we're not even going to fucking go into it. But they told me he gave one of these girls' matches in AEW the same rating that he gave a Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat house show match. And I'm sorry, but everything now gets it. He gives 4 stars to the opening match with fucking maybe Jelly. If Jelly's in it, it gets 3.5. How the fuck are these matches so much better than the matches that we were seeing every night in major arenas from guys that had been in the business for years and years, knew what the fuck was going on? They're not. Dave's just lost his fucking mind. And it doesn't mean anything anyway, regardless of who is rating it, how many stars. It doesn't mean anything. But for those who have not heard, I will give you the original meaning of the 4-star system. 1, well, that sucked. We couldn't wait for it to be over. 2, that's about what we expected. 3, that was really fucking good. And 4, holy shit, they tore the house down. Otherwise than that, what the fuck?
And again, it's obviously a different world now. When Flair and Steamboat were wrestling, they were action-packed matches with genuine emotion from the fans, typically. Now, there's a lot of moves, a lot of kickouts, a lot of near falls. It's a different pace of a match, typically, but it's also the coin of the realm. It doesn't stand out as much as Flair Steamboat did in 1989, because everyone's kicking out of everything and doing all the same flips and big spots in every match.
And the same thing is that while they're doing so much more, the matches are worse. The matches are not better. The matches are faster. The matches have more bumps. They're doing all this shit, but the matches are not better. So it's just more. So to continually rate them based on the amount of moves that are done rather than whether this fucking thing is any good or not, whether it had got the finish over, accomplished the purpose, led to a rematch, some fucking positive outcome for business, tore the house down amongst the people that were there, work looked good, nobody fucking scoffed, whatever. They're not even looking for that. So it's just a bunch of fucking highlight videos.
So someone tweeted at Dave, wasn't Dooley the first one who gave a match 6 stars? Why are people complaining to you about that now? And he said, yes, people who are unaware a world existed before 2017 were misled by people who don't know what they're talking about. And then another person said, if it goes to infinity, then a 5-star match would mean it kind of sucked, right? And Dave said, yes. And a 9, I think he's joking here. Yes, and a 9.0 earthquake actually does no damage at all.
What?
So then someone said, so the star system is basically a joke? I'd agree.
Yes.
I think the way they do it now with the movies, however, is great. 5 being the limit, 5 being the best.
Do movies get 5 stars now?
I don't know. Dave said, if you think about it, what if somebody put together a movie so far above the previous best movie? If that's the case, the system becomes flawed. And then someone said the whole point of the rating system was to categorize. Adding more stars diminishes the whole point. Dave says, years ago when my daughter was 8, I explained this to her and she totally understood. Richter scale. Just think about it.
Oh, for God's sake.
And he goes on and on and on. It's weird. You invented it. He popularized it. And
I was ribbing. And a lot of people now are going, what? Because they, sorry, longtime listeners. My friend Weasel Dooley is on the phone with me while I'm looking through the TV guide in 1980 for something to watch. And I'm reading his newsletter that he has just sent out to me. And he's going into such detail on what he liked and didn't like about the matches. I said, Weasel, you ought to fucking rate these things like they do the movies in TV Guide. And from that offhand comment, 40 fucking 1 years later, people are losing their minds over this shit. Just because Dave Meltzer was one of Weasel's pen pals when he liked the idea. But it was bullshit, as evidenced by 6.5 stars. Funk and Lawler was 5 stars because it blew us away. And then they did the fucking Louisville Gardens fucking arena brawl and holy shit. And after the cops finished carting all the fans out and everything's settled down, we said, well, that's 6 stars. And then they did the fucking 8-man tag the next week off the angle that they'd shot with that. And we said, well, that's 6.5 because this was 30 minutes of fucking chaos and everybody went crazy. And then it settled back down, and except if Terry Funk would wander around again, everything was back to 4 stars or under, because even we weren't going to be ridiculous.
But ever since you had Dave on the show and you explained to him after the Omega Okada match, no, there actually was a previous 6-star match. That's now his
Then he's
defense.
used that to say, okay, now I'm going to give fucking Twinkle Toes 14 stars because you can do whatever because it doesn't mean anything. Once you have established this thing as something that people are arguing about, you should feel bad enough that they argue about this fucking stupid thing but then try to change the goddamn parameters and just start handing out 7 stars because you goddamn like the scent of this fucking guy's athletic supporter. I don't fucking.
Do you think too many wrestlers wrestle for what they anticipate the star rating from Dave would be?
Apparently they do now. Do you know what would have happened if I had in a WCW locker room in 1989 or a WWF locker room in 1996, if I'd have yelled out, hey, who thinks they're going to get the best star rating from Meltzer for the match tonight? Everybody would have looked up at me and go, what? What? Now it's everybody would shoot their hand up in the fucking sky. Me.
Hence, the Young Bucks go on first.
Well, then that's the thing. The reason why, if any, that guys used to like going on first was because at least they get the fucking virgin crowd. And they haven't seen anything, and they've been sitting there eating their popcorn, drinking their Cokes, reading the program, waiting for this shit to get started. And they're going to be ready for it. First match, virgin fucking crowd. Boom, you do your thing. And then now everybody's got to follow you, and they've seen shit already. So that's the only thing that made going on first somewhat palatable.